is in psychology, is in forensics, but addiction specifically. I work with people with histories of addictions, both alcohol and drugs and other addictions like gambling. And forensics, I work with people with criminal and legal involvement, and also I work with trauma, people, especially men who have been traumatized through combat or other very violent and horrendous experiences. Two major studies I've worked on. One was in a relapse model called the Center model that develops a educational approach to relapse awareness and addictions. Another one is in developing a step process for treatment of post-traumatic stress disorder. I've worked at both inpatient and outpatient settings. I was a director of a residential center for quite a while, and I've worked in outpatient settings. Currently I work with veterans who are coming back from combat, or not only from the current war, but from others, with addictions and trauma issues. The thing I would suggest to somebody who's just starting out, especially working in addictions, is get to know as much as you can, not only about psychology, but about biology and things, but about just human nature and getting to know other people. Building those bridges and networks with others that you could take into a lifetime's worth of career. I like teaching in Ottawa specifically is because of the class size. My first class that I ever taught had over 300 students in it, and that was a bit intimidating. Didn't get to know my students, but here at Ottawa the classes are smaller. They tend to be non-traditional students, older students coming back, and I get to know them, and that's the piece that really attracted me to this and keeps me here, is I get to know my students and be a part of them. I've had several students in multiple classes, and so I've been able to not only work with them, but get to watch their academic growth, and they're moving into careers. Well, the one thing I'm working on right now is a continuation of developing a model to treat both PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and addictions, especially with combat troops. It's a very in-depth and a very long process, and there's a lot of different fields that I'm working with, not only in psychology, but social work, medicine, nursing, physical therapy, to develop this model that can be used not only with the population I'm working with now, but with others as well. What I like most about working in field psychology and being a therapist is I get to know the people. If I had gone on to become an MD, I'd meet somebody, work with them 10 to 15 minutes, and probably not remember their name. But now, working the way I do, I get to know my patients. I get to be a part of their process. The most challenging part is working with new patients, with new issues that come up, and that learning how to deal with them, but also learning about the individual, what their experiences are, and where my own biases come into play, and getting past those so I can help them. Oh, great classes. One of my favorites is the addiction studies in the movies. That's a great class. Psychology and music experience. That to me is just kind of sounds like a great fun course. You get to watch movies and listen to music and studying psychology at the same time. But it's the principles of psychology, the theories in psychology, even statistics. As boring as it sounds, is actually a pretty interesting course, because you get putting together the numbers and seeing how things work, and discovering that there's correlations between things you would never even imagine. Developmental psychology. It's all the basics in psychology that a person would need to understand. The coolest thing is the hands-on experience. Myself, I work in the field as I come in here and teach, and what I like doing is bringing in people, colleagues, patients, those that, so that the students get to meet them and ask questions. Recently in a class I had a geriatric psychologist came in, and that turned into one of the best classes I've ever sat in on. And a while back I taught a class, and I had a person who she had actually died and gone to the other side, saw the white light, and came back. And she came to the class and shared that experience, and the students were just, able to answer or ask her all these questions and find out from her experience and what it's like being on the other side. But they were able to take their information that they learned in the theory parts of the class and apply it to that situation. So that's some of the coolest things to get to do, because it's the idea is psychology isn't boring at all. It's extremely exciting. So here at Ottawa, because of the nature of the professors here, to be able to come in with real world experience, we get to share our enthusiasm and love and joy of our fields with the students directly, because we're there too. Hot topic in the psychology world. Well, right now, terrorism. That's the biggest one that's going on. And trauma, because of the war that's going on, what's going on around the world. Those are, major research areas, but it's also areas that people want to understand why people do what they do, why terrorists do what they do. What happens to individuals as a result of the terrorist attacks and things like that. So that's, I think right now is probably the #1 topic happening in the world in the field of psychology. A bachelor's in psychology. It's a good start. There's so much to move into the field of psychology, but there's a lot you can do with a bachelor's. There's a lot of like human services type work. Working as a case manager, working as an attendant in a hospital or with an agency, working with kids, working in human resources, working with within within companies and things like that, helping to do research, tons of things. I mean, it's how you can market your degree in the areas that you want to, because having a bachelor's in psychology, you understand a lot about human behavior and human nature and how things operate and people interact with society. Really, the sky becomes the limit on how you want to do it and where it is you really want to go. Sports psychology is becoming a really big field, because of growing sports and things like that, but not just in the professional arena. The high school and middle school levels, sports psychologists or people working in that area help, in becoming trainers. Find the area that you can have the most fun with. And I mean that literally. Not everybody can become a mental health professional, a therapist, psychologist, because it does. There's a lot that's required of the person as an individual, to look at not only what their own biases are, but also what's going on with other people. And sometimes you work with people that, let's face it, you wouldn't bring them home for dinner, that's for sure. But they're human beings as well, and they deserve compassion. They deserve understanding. And if you don't have that for them, then that's not your area to go to. Where I like is I actually have fun doing what I do. And what I mean by fun is I look forward to going in and working with addicts, alcoholics, mentally ill people, and help them find a better way of coping with life and improving the quality of their life. One person in particular, he was a paranoid schizophrenic who had been incarcerated for 25 years for a homicide of a family member during one of his psychotic breaks. When I started working with him, was when he got out of prison. I discovered he was an opera singer, and you'd never know it. And he had the most beautiful voice. What he's doing today, he's singing for a living. And that's the way he learned to quiet his own mental illness. He actually is able to manage it now without medications, and he's living a very, what we would consider a normal life. Those are the things that, you know, if you want to be in psychology, or if you want to in this field of study, do it because it's something that you have a passion for and something you love. And here at Ottawa, what I have found is this is a great place to begin that journey and find what it is about learning and psychology and about yourself that can all come together and make something special.